Well, hello everyone. My name is Professor Tom Berry. I go by Tom. That's my name. This is SOC212, Sociology of Race, Class, Gender, class where we kind of explore from a sociological viewpoint, explore basically the relationship between privilege and domination. We explore inequality, try to understand different dimensions of inequality, including race, class, and gender primarily. So the goal of this video is just to give you a little bit of an orientation about sort of navigating the class, going over the syllabus, some kind of like technical aspects like that. I look forward to meeting you later on in the week. We'll talk about, the articles that are assigned for the week and kind of content that we're going to move through. So this is just about an overview, kind of like lay of the land, make sure you're on solid footing for the start of the class. Okay, so let me pull up a different document, not that one. Let's see here, hold on. Got too many different things going on. Okay, here we go. No, it's the wrong class. Hold on. All right, I figured it out. Here we go. Let's hope so. Okay, here we go. Make that a little bit larger. All right, so we meet every Thursday, 10:30 to 12:20. Class attendance participation is a requirement for the class. We meet once a week, so it's a lot of content to kind of process. So it's very critical that you are there just to be able to gain from the information, share information as well that we are going over. So the kind of way the class works, right? This is Zoom remote. This is a remote, kind of an online combo. And part of this, so I'll put a lecture. Most weeks it's a lecture, and if it's not a lecture, it's a video with an interview of an author or an author talking about a book. So there'll be some like core content like that, and then there will be readings and other information that's required for the write-up. And I'll kind of explain that in a little bit. That's kind of lay of the land, is that before our class meeting, there'll be content for you to cover. Get to the class meeting, we're talking about the content that you covered, and that's also part of a written requirement for the class. I'll leave it up to you to go through the basic outcomes. I just want to stress that if you're going to look through the social science outcomes or cultural literacy or sort of race, class, and gender, our outcomes for this particular class, it's really about examining things from a more of a system level kind of an analysis. We live in a culture, our American culture prides itself on very individualistic, rugged individualistic perspective. And by that, I mean that we focus on the individuals being accountable for their success and for their failure, that we see it's only through the lens of individual versus patterns of behavior versus the structures that we live in and the culture that we live in. So this class being a sociology class and being a class in the social sciences, we're expanding and moving beyond the individual, and we're looking at things that are more a social analytical kind of framework. And we'll develop a framework of thinking and knowing the first couple of weeks of the term, when we use those frameworks throughout the course of the term. So that may push up against some cultural values that we have, the ideas of rugged individualism and these kind of things. That's part of it, right? It's part of education. It's kind of like pushing things in different directions, not pushing things with an agenda, but trying to shed information and perspective on particular kind of issues that are going on. Okay, so if you want to go over those outcomes, that's kind of like the one thing I wanted to communicate with that. Here's the requirements for the class. So there are these, hold on a second. All right, we're back in action. I had a syllabus pulled up from a previous term. All right, we'll try this one more time. There we go. That was on the syllabus from a previous term. So okay, here's the assignments for the class. Every Every week, with the exception of the midterm, there's a summary of materials assignment. And basically, it's a summary of the lecture and the readings, podcasts, whatever it may be for the week. I'll kind of scroll down to the class schedule to show you real quick. So for example, in this first week one, there's a lecture, video lecture, of me talking about sociological theories, the matrix of domination. So there's one part of the write-up is about that. And then there's part of the assignment, the summary of materials assignment is a coverage of the reading, Hill Collins, Intersecting Oppressions, and Macintosh White Privilege. Both of those are in the week one folder in Blackboard. And as you can see, we can go down to like week two, right? Okay, there's going to be in that summary of materials. It's basically going to cover the lecture on the social construction of race, 2 different readings. You're going to cover that. You know, we're just going to keep on going down. So this third week, it's not a lecture from me, but rather a presentation by Shannon Sullivan, who does work on kind of identity development, thinking about this idea of a good white liberal. What does that mean? So it's a video of her talking about her work and applications to things after Charlottesville, after the event in Charlottesville. And then there's a reading White Fragility, chapter 1 and 2. And I put a couple other chapters if you wanted to read them. So that's what you're going to cover for the summary of materials for week 3. Week 4, there's a lecture, podcast, and a reading. So you can kind of see, you know, going by the schedule, and I'll put all this in you know, the weekly folder so that you'll be able to see it as you go along. But for a reference point, you can look at the syllabus, you can kind of see where we're going. But that's the summary of materials assignment. There's a midterm review when we get to week 4. I'll just tell you what that's about. It's basically identifying some key themes that you found important and valuable, informative, bringing them to class during midterm week, and then we share them as a way of reviewing material and kind of doing some work around kind of where we've been. 70 points for attendance and participation. So you need to be in class, Zoom ready. I assume everybody has their cameras on. If you do not have computer technology to afford you the opportunity for video capability, you need to let me know, and we'll work to make that happen. Yeah, it's a requirement to have video on throughout the duration of the class. I mean, there may be a time, right, where I don't know, we're all in this environment. You know, we may have kids, may have family members that are kind of coming in and out. And you know, pets, whatever it may be. Sometimes we have to turn our camera off real quick and then come back in. Totally get that. We got to be flexible with each other. At the same time, our class session is our class session, right? That's when we're meeting. We need to be engaged. And to do that, one way to do that is making sure that we have our cameras on, ready to go, and that we are, you know, just sort of front and center that way. Yeah. So that's that part. And then there's near the end of the term, we do these PowerPoint slide presentation working in a group. So we'll talk about that later on. That's one assignment. And then there's a midterm and a final. They're both take home essay style midterm final. So that's kind of the requirements. You can read through some of the specifics about all that stuff if you would like. Here's some information about technology assistance. So if you need assistance, if you run into problems with technology, or you have a need for some help, there you go. There's a resource for you. Americans with Disabilities Act statement. If you do have a documented disability, let me know, let the institution know. We're here to help and serve and provide support for you as you navigate your way through your classes and your experience at the college. A non-discriminatory discrimination policy, Title IX, gender equity, sexual harassment statement, protecting individuals from gender discrimination and sexual harassment. Just a statement that we all include in our syllabi, and important for you to be aware of in terms of your rights as a student on campus. We have counseling services for students, a great resource for students. I'm not sure if everyone knows that, but there's contact information there. Principles of community. We'll talk about these, try to talk about them the first week of the term. They're really important to make, you know, these ideas about we need to be able to create environments and places where we are valued, we are safe in communicating diverse ideas and perspectives, where we are supported in communicating diverse ideas and perspectives, but we're not demeaning and devaluing others in the process. So it comes from a place of respect, integrity, desire to understand, and ideas that are marginalizing groups are ideas that go against the development of community. So, that's an important part of all classes, but in our class, we deal with a lot about values and beliefs and perspectives, and it becomes really important that we feel comfortable being able to share ideas and perspectives without fear of retribution or fear of being sort of condemned or marginalized. Respect, trust, value, regard for others, those are part of like the sort of idea of creating that climate. Information about safe zone training on campus, places for LGBTQ students, faculty, staff as well, to be, safe zones on campus. Student insurance, basic resources. In today's world, may have a lot of needs in terms of, housing, food, basic living needs. We have a great resource on campus to help connect people up to resources in the community. I want you to be aware of what those resources are. And here's contact information. Marcus LeGrand and the staff over there are awesome. Contact them for support. And then academic honesty and plagiarism. There's a lot of written work in this class. It's all submitted through Turnitin, provides a review of information. It compares everything to everything that's out on the internet, basically, and it identifies areas that look kind of fishy or that look like they're replications or are replications of material that's already out there. So I'm interested in your understanding the material. I'm not interested in you restating exactly what somebody else says. I want you to be able to explain things in your own words. So it should not be an issue. You should always explain things in your own perspective, your own ways of thinking. If there's a violation or if there's a problem in terms of things that something may be plagiarized, I will let you know. It depends on the extent of it, whether or not you'll receive a 0 for that assignment. But there may be a way to just kind of work with you to understand what plagiarism is and move away from it. But just be aware of that you're doing a lot of written work, you're doing written work in this class and just using your own voice throughout the term. And then finally, a class, it's about partnership between me and you, between me and everyone in the class. I try to get as many voices, perspectives offered in the class. I call on individuals to be able to talk about things, like, hey, what about that reading? What did you think about that reading or that perspective in the reading? I understand that, we all have different comfort levels in terms of engaging and responding to questions. If you ever feel like, hey, I just want to take a pass on that one, feel free to do that. But then do it for, solicit feedback from different students to create this sort of environment where it's really about all of us coming there in that space and being able to share perspective and information without having, very few voices dominate the conversation. So we all have great contributions to offer. My goal is to help create an environment where people feel included in and can share perspectives and ideas. Okay, so let me go to the assignment for the week so you know what that is. Again, hold on 1 second. I need to stop things. This is the wrong one. Okay, how about I do this? Okay, so this is going to be the format. I got to change a couple things in there, but this one I got to change out. I just noticed that. Every week I put the PowerPoint in there. If there's a lecture video from me, it'll be in here. Here's the materials. I put PDFs of all the materials. If it's a link, it's in here as well. This is not required for the first week, but I encourage you to read it. It's a fairly short read, 6 pages long, I think, or something. It's basically an explanation of the 3 main theoretical perspectives of sociology. I'll talk about them in the lecture. But this is a great resource. It gives you the foundations. It gives you the framework. Encourage you to read that. It'll be an important part. So what I'm going to go to here is go to the assignment for the week. And the assignment is for every week, the summary of materials assignment. So like I said, each week I post information. It could be articles, podcasts, a lecture from me, or other materials, interviews from authors, whatever it may be. All that information is there to encourage kind of development of understanding, expansion of knowledge, different perspectives. It's all about all that kind of stuff. Break down your paper that you submit and turn it in. There'll be a turn it in spot in week 1 folder. You'll turn it in before our class meeting. This first week I'll give you until Sunday, but I'd encourage you to finish it before our class meeting. because we cover that content. We use that content that you from the course materials during our class meeting. So to be prepared, it's a way to be prepared for class. So usually it's like before our class meeting, the night before, but midnight, Tuesday night, they're all due, these assignments. Okay, so break it down. In the first section is a review of the lecture or the interview with an author, whatever that sort of video may be. So it's a review of that. And I kind of explain a little bit about this. If it's a lecture, I put themes in the lecture in the PowerPoint, theme 1, theme 2, theme 3, 4, etc. So for each theme, basically describe the theme. Like, what is the theme? Explain the theme. What is some information about the theme? And for each theme, provide 100 to 150 words describing that particular theme. And then include the word count after each theme. We'll see how that goes. It's the first time doing this sort of thematic approach, so we'll see how it goes. I think it'll work out well, but with the lecture, I break it down into themes, identify the themes. If it's an interview or a presentation from an author, of course, they're not going to identify themes. You just have to be able to extract themes for what they're talking about. And so what I identify here is that identify 5 main themes that the author's talking about. So that's section 1. Section 2 is the review of the readings or the podcast, so that other information that's there. And basically for each one of those sources, 150 to 250 words summary of that article or that podcast. So basically address the main issues, the main ideas for that. So the summary materials are due on Tuesday before our class meeting. We meet on Wednesday, so these are due on Tuesday night. Turn it in. If you turn it in after the due date, it's 25% off, and you have up to a week to turn it in for that 75% credit. Okay, I think that's basically it. Maybe I could go back to this syllabus real quick. It's just kind of being funky today. Hold on a second. Okay, just one last thing. Here we go. Yep. Just so you know what's going on for class on Wednesday. So review the video, the lecture, review the themes that are present there. And then the readings, the Hill Collins article, provide a summary review of that. And then a summary review of white privilege. Little heads up on the Hill Collins article. There's philosophy in there. It's really abstract. It's theoretical. It's probably the most challenging reading that we're going to have throughout the course of the term. It sets the ground for the framework for the class. I've looked for different summaries of hers that provide the detail that I want, but without the complexity. But I've yet to find bits and pieces. But I'm sticking with this one for now. So we're going to work through it. So if you're going through that intersecting depressions, you go, man, I got 25% of this thing. This is just like way too complicated. No worries, do your best. Our job is to work through that in class. My experience is that after we talk about it for a couple weeks, just make applications of it. I mean, by the end of the term, you are set. You got it. It just takes a while to work through. Just want to give you a heads up about that. Welcome to class. Look forward to meeting you. I'm always up for a Zoom meeting if you want to meet with me, if you have questions, if you want to talk about kind of information and events. That's all fine as well. We can set up a meeting. I'm here for you. I'm here to support you. I'm looking forward to a great class, and I'll see you in class this week. Take care.